Once upon a time, there lived a very fat woman named Amina, who was made of oil. Amina was very beautiful, and many young men came to her parents asking for her hand in marriage, but Amina's mother Aisha always refused. Aisha said it was impossible for her daughter to work on a farm, as she would immediately melt in the sun, and so all the men who came asking for Amina's hand in marriage were immediately turned away. At last, a stranger came from a far, far country, and he quickly fell in love with this fat and beautiful woman. Asking for her hand in marriage, he promised her mother to always keep her in the shade at all times so that she wouldn't melt. Finally, the mother agreed, and thus Amina, the fat, beautiful woman, was married and taken away by her new husband. Now, when Amina and her new groom arrived at his house, his other wife immediately became very jealous, because when there was work to be done, firewood to be collected, or water to be carried, Amina stayed at home and never helped, as she was scared of the heat. So one day, when their husband was absent, the jealous wife abused the fat woman so much that she finally agreed to follow her to work on the farm. Her little sister, whom she had brought from home with her, urged her not to go, reminding Amina about the consequences of the sun on her oily skin. Yet Amina went regardless, as she could no longer take the wife's insults. All the way to the farm, Amina managed to keep in the shade, and when they finally arrived at the farm, the sun was very hot, so much so that the fat woman had to remain in the shade of a big tree. Now when the jealous wife saw Amina under the tree, she began abusing her once again, asking why she did not do her own share of the work. At last, Amina could stand the nagging no longer, and despite her little sister's fervent efforts to prevent her, the fat woman went into the sun to work. Immediately, Amina began to melt away. Soon, there was nothing left of Amina but one big toe, which had been covered by a leaf. The little sister saw the toe on the ground, and with tears in her eyes, she picked up the toe, covered it carefully with leaves, and placed it in the bottom of her basket. Now when she arrived at the house, the little sister placed the toe in an earthen pot, filled it with water, and covered the top of the pot with clay. Once Amina's husband returned, he said, "Where is my fat wife?" And the little sister, crying bitterly, told him that his jealous wife had made her go into the sun, and thus she had melted away. The little sister then showed him the pot where the remains of her older sister lay. She told him that her sister would come to life again in 3 months, quite complete, but then he must send his jealous wife away so that there will no longer be trouble in the home. If he refused, the little sister threatened to take the pot back to their mother, and when her sister became complete again, told him that they would not come back to live with him if his jealous wife still remained in his house. Angry and thirsty, the husband took the jealous wife back to her parents, who sold her as a slave and paid the dowry back to the husband so that he could get another wife. As soon as he received the money, the husband took it home and kept it there until 3 months had elapsed. When the little sister opened the pot, the fat woman again emerged, quite as fat and beautiful as she had ever been. The husband was so delighted that he held a feast for all his friends and neighbors, telling them the whole story of Amina and his jealous wife. Just like in that time, and even now, whenever a wife behaves badly, the husband returns her to her parents, who reimburse the husband the amount of dowry which he paid when he married the girl. This is done so that the husband will have enough money to marry another wife, one who is as beautiful as the fat and beautiful woman who was made of oil. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel to get more of Africa's finest, grungiest, darkest, and most interesting stories brought to you every week. Well, if I'm not lazy, Yeah. Because subscribe.